Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome in once again. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the knives that I make. I started making this in around 2017, so it's been about 4 years now. This was the third model that I had designed and introduced, and this is the bone chopper. Now, I've gone through various different types of packaging over the year, and I found that this particular zippered case really serves this particular model well. Fits very, very nicely. Nice and snug for shipping. So the first thing that you'll see when you open up any of my packaging is my certificate of authenticity, my logo on the front, whole bunch of writing inside, lists off all the information about the knife, and lists on the back that it's genuine, and my signature. Next you'll see it's going to be safely ensconced within this leather sheath. Now, I do offer a few different varieties of leather sheaths. They're all made by Randall Mackey. He's kind of a living legend. And I figured if I'm not going to learn another trade, I'm not going to learn how to do all this amazing leather work because it is learning a whole new trade, that I'm going to use somebody that is world-renowned and has an incredible reputation, and Randall Mackey certainly does fit that description. Typically, what I suggest to my clients is to go with a horizontal carry in the leather sheath, and we typically do a leather band over this so that it's ambidextrous. You can wear it left or right, back, left or right, however you want to carry it. But I always, when I carry my knives, I carry them over my left hip. So if you're wearing jeans, right over your left front pocket is actually where this is going to be hanging. And this is a little bit of a newer style that we started doing where there's more of a cutaway for the handle so it's easier to get the knife out of it. Again, beautifully crafted, nice fine leather work. And this particular example of the bone chopper is the newest iteration where I've added the glass breaker on the back. I've added the lanyard hole as well. And instead of having more of a flat face on the tip of the blade, I do kind of concave that a little bit. I do run that on the wheel, so it kind of gets more of a defined shape to it. Now, the whole idea when I first concepted this was I grew up loving the look of the machete, or excuse me, the chopper style machetes. And I thought, how cool would it be to have a chopper style machete that was shrunken down to a size that could actually be carried, maybe not as an EDC. I think that's still going to be pretty large for an EDC being the 5-inch blade. However, I wanted something that was easy to carry and could be concealed under just a t-shirt untucked over your jeans. Nice and simple, very easy. And it's gone through a few different iterations over the years, and I think I've pretty much nailed down the overall look that I like the most. Again, I like having more of that concave at the tip. I like having the glass breaker. That was actually a request from one particular customer on a build about 1.5 years or so ago, right before COVID hit. And I said, you know what, I really kind of dig that idea, so I think I'm going to start incorporating that into all of the bone choppers. So I've made a new template, and that now exists on all of them. And it's got the taller and fatter handles on them, and it's a little bit of a longer handle than I used to do as well. When I first started doing this, it was a skinnier handle with much more pronounced finger choils. And I just kind of, I held it, and while it felt good for my hand, I realized that, you know, when you start putting very pronounced finger choils into stuff, it forces somebody's hand into a certain position that may not work for them. Maybe their grip is smaller or their grip is larger. The hands are fatter or skinnier, and it may just not work. So what I decided to do was go a little bit fatter, a little bit taller, and bring out more of a palm swell in the scales. And so far, so good. I've had a lot of great response to it. If I can remember, I'll try to throw a couple of pictures up here next to my head of various different iterations of the bone chopper as it's grown throughout the years, and different variations in the materials, in the handle materials and stuff like that. When I first started making these, I only did them in CPM 3V. I figured if somebody's actually going to be hacking and chopping with this thing, 3V would be an excellent choice to do for that. And then I had a lot of requests for various different types of Damascus, and I love working with Damascus, as evidenced here with this stainless black boomerang. And I've kind of settled on, if it's going to be monosteel, I'll typically do either CPM 3V, and that is an upcharge because it takes up my entire day just to heat treat it. And the other alternative for monosteel is I'll do CPM 154 CM. I found that to be a really great all-around EDC steel. And then, of course, all the various types of Damascus. One of my favorites that I made, and I know I popped that picture up here somewhere, was the Damascus steel bone chopper. Absolutely love how that knife came out. It was really, really sexy. When we go down and show you some of the details, you're going to see some of the light bevels that I've put in along the spine and stuff. And I'm starting to do that a lot more on my Damascus knives that are very, very dark etched Damascus, because it's going to give you a frame, a highlight where light is going to bounce off of it. I don't know if these lights are really doing it justice here, but you'll see it on the tabletop portion. And the other fun part is I use the glow-in-the-dark liners on this. This is forged carbon fiber. It's a really, really awesome looking carbon fiber, but I wanted it to pop a little bit more, so I decided to use a glow liner, and then at the tips or the front of the scales, I wanted to expose the liner so that you could actually see it glowing from the side. Not that you're really ever going to be reaching for this in the dark. If you were to, and it were to be charged up, I mean, it only takes a couple seconds to really charge it up. I think you could probably even see that right there. Yeah, you'd be able to locate this in the dark, but I mean, this is not something you're going to have sitting around in the dark. Actually, the stuff glows so good. You can see it with the bright studio lights going on in here. So as you see, the way I did it by exposing the fronts, you can see it from the side instead of just from the edges. So I had a tremendous amount of fun making this. I think it's a fantastic overall design. It's one of those knives that when I get the orders for them, I stop everything else because I really enjoy making the bone chopper. It's endured in my collection for a very long time now, and I don't see myself retiring it like I retired my occipital or retired the tibia. That was designs number 1 and 2. This was design number 3. So this has now been around the longest. I've made more Hellraisers and scaphoids than anything else. But this one, I think, is going to live on forever. I don't think it's really going to change too much over the years either. I'm enjoying how this one feels in the hand, the overall balance of it. So let's go down right now and get a closer look at it. We'll turn off the light to let you see how it glows. And we'll take a nice close look at that beautiful Damascus pattern and see what you guys think of this knife. Okay, we'll just go ahead and start with the basic specifications to begin with. The overall length is just a touch over 9.5 inches, including the attitude adjuster out back. And you've got just about a 5.25 inch blade with a 5-inch cutting edge. The very gently sweeping plunges, or I should say moderately sweeping plunges, they're not quite as swept as I do on many of my other models. Leaves just a tiny little bit that's unsharpened at the very heel of the blade, but almost none whatsoever, as you can see there. The materials being used here are Chad Nichols stainless black boomerang Damascus, forged carbon fiber, which I'll give you some close-up shots here in a few moments, and a special glow-in-the-dark set of liners. These are not your normal glow-in-the-dark G10 liners that are available everywhere. I did have these specially made. They glow quite a bit more vividly and a little bit longer than I've noticed with the standard glow-in-the-dark stuff that's normally out there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to grab my little flashlight here, and we'll use that so that we can charge up the glow here in just a couple of minutes. If I could stop bumping the camera, that'd be a joy. So let's get some nice close-up shots and I'll show you some of the details. Really, really, really love this particular pattern. of Damascus. And I love how dark it gets. It gets nice and dark. And here, as you can see, is that bevel that I mentioned. I put a bevel here at the tip and a bevel along the spine just to give it a little bit of pop as you move the knife in and out of the light. It's not just dark black Damascus. You've got a little pop there that, I don't know, it just adds a little bit of something. I did it one day out of the blue on a Damascus knife I was doing. I went, you know what? I kind of like that extra little highlight. So at times on certain specific knives, I will do that. Then I decided to go ahead and satin finish the entire front down to the tip, because I thought it added a bit more class as well. Here is that forged carbon fiber. It really is gorgeous stuff. There's something about not only the look, but the perfectly smooth, almost glass-like feel of the forged carbon fiber that I really enjoy. And it's a little bit, I don't want to say more fun. It's less, I hate working with it less than I do marbled carbon fiber. As much as I love the look of marbled carbon fiber, the problem with it is you can get these little shreds that come out of it. Instead of just being ground down to a fine carbon fiber powder, you get these little basically splinters that end up in your skin. And if you don't take care of that properly right before you clean up, then as you go to shower in a nice hot shower, they actually get embedded in your pores, and that just sucks. It's way less fun than it sounds. And I really like how the forged carbon fiber looks, the way that it catches the light, as long as you finish it properly. I don't like to do a full high polish on really any carbon fiber. I'll do it if the customer requests it. But what I like to do is a nice, clean, smooth, matte finish, and then I go over it and make some of the highlights pop. And when it's out in the sunlight, it pops substantially more than it does here under my studio lighting. And speaking of lighting, I'm going to have to hold the blade here, I guess. And let's see if we can charge up the liners here. And you can even see them glowing even with, I've got hundreds of watts of studio lights pointed at this thing right now. Try to do this without cutting myself. That would be swell. It only takes a couple of seconds of light to really get it charged up. All right, we'll kill the flashlight. I'll kill the lights right over here. And you can see it glowing wonderfully. And you can see how much of that glow there is because it's actually lighting up the surrounding areas. Really love the look of anything that glows in the dark. I'm like a small child in an adult's body. I've always just loved shit that glows. So every now and then I'll go ahead and do a piece that has some glow in the dark to it, whether it be some glow in the dark material fused into the actual scale material, or I add the liners. Either way, I just love how it pops. I think it's a really cool kind of futuristic look. And since I'm not doing very traditional style knives typically, it actually works well with my style. So let me try and get the light back on here. There we go. Allow my camera to refocus. And there you have it. Really happy with how this little guy turned out. This is a model, like I said before, that I've had in my rotation, in my model collection since about 2017. And it's one that I'm going to continue on as well. I'm going to continue making the customs, and as I'm striving toward working out some manufacturing deals to make production versions of my knives, and also to offer some mid-techs, which will greatly reduce the price. A knife like this, you'd probably be able to save like $300 if I was doing a mid-tech version, where I was left with like the last 15% of the work, grinding the bevels, putting on the edge, doing the finishing, and finishing out the scales. Something like that takes tremendously less time. Obviously, you pay tremendously less money. So those will all be options, hopefully over the course of the next year. But for right now, they are strictly done as customs. As far as pricing goes, I really only kind of go off my base pricing because everybody has different tastes. Somebody might want desert ironwood and Damascus steel. Well, that's obviously going to be much more expensive than the configuration here. Somebody may just want a strict user and they want my dark granite finish, that dark acid stonewash on a mono steel and black G10 and nothing else. And that would be considerably less than this one. So base prices, which would be a mono steel, which would either be CPM 3V or it would be CPM 154CM or S35VN, whichever of those two. I kind of use those interchangeably as to what's available at the time. And either black G10 or a basic carbon fiber like a 2x2 twill. Base price on that would be $475. And when you start going up in finishes, you get into hand rub satins and stuff like that, then the price goes up. More expensive materials, that price goes up. Damascus and things of that nature, price of course goes up because the materials are more expensive and various different materials require various different levels of handwork and hand finishing, which adds or takes away from your labor costs. I do always include sheaths now. When I first began, for the first 2 to maybe 2.5 years, I did not include sheaths in with my orders. I would say, okay, you want the knife? Great, here's the price. If you want a Kydex sheath, here's the guy that I use. You can either send it to him or I can send it to him for you, and then he'll ship to you. And it was a system that I ended up not liking very much. So I work now with Randall Mackey. Here is his logo here on the back of the sheath. Randall is a living legend, and not only is he one of the best leather sheath makers in the business, but his prices are fantastic. You will pay for a nice, fine leather sheath that's all handmade what you would typically pay for Kydex. That sheath right there is $50. That sheath in this size in Kydex would be $50 or so from a Kydex maker. On some of my smaller knives, it can go down as low as $40 for the sheath in genuine leather. I always typically suggest horizontal carry. Typically, we do a leather loop that goes all the way over to make it ambidextrous. This is more of a new style that we tried on this one where most of the handle is exposed to allow you to be able to reach the handle a little bit easier. And I think if people prefer this, this is probably the way that I'm going to go. Most of the sheaths I've been doing up to this point with Randall, they have covered probably up to about there on all the handles. My personal preference is to have the majority of the handle exposed. That way it's easier to draw and get out quickly. But that is the complete package right there, and hopefully you guys like it as much as I enjoy making it. I really do love making the bone choppers. There's just something about it, and it's a larger platform that allows me to do more thematic knives. And hopefully throughout this video I remembered to pop in little pictures here and there of various versions I've made in the past, and some have had themes with engraving or Cerakote. It just gives me a larger workspace in order to do that. So that's about all I had to say about this one. I wanted to get a chance to share this with you. I've never had a chance to share a bone chopper on my channel in the past. So here it is for you. Anybody has any interest in maybe getting on the books for one, my books technically are closed, but I am taking a couple of orders for about 4 to 5 months from now. So if you want to send me a message through Instagram, please feel free to do so, and we'll work together and see what your materials and your finishes and what kind of combos would best suit you. We can try to get something made for you. Until next time, guys, I'm out of here, and I'll catch you on the next video.